cooking next is a man who shares my love of classic French cooking, which is served at his very successful and award-winning London restaurant Rice Inn. It's Henry Harris. Great to have on the show again, Henry. So something classic for you as well. You're into your classic cooking, so you're going to get any more classic than this in terms of French cooking.
Exactly. Vinegar chicken. Poulet au vinaigre, poulet sauté au vinaigre. Really good chicken. It's a really great family home dish to cook.
Sounds good to me. So you're going to prepare the chicken. You want me to do the mash for this?
Yes, please.
As well as the tomatoes, because the base flavours are similar to sort of the old chicken chasseur until you get to a point where you're adding the cream, isn't it, really?
Exactly, and there's no mushrooms in it.
Yeah.
It's basically, the mushrooms just get, it's a bit like adding lemon juice to the dish. It just gives it a nice gentle acidity. There's very little in there.
Yeah.
And it's just finished off with tarragon, some fresh chopped tomato.
Yeah.
A little bit of cream.
A little bit of cream, yeah. So where do you get your love of French cooking from? Because for me, really, it was when I was younger, and I used to visit there. Is it the same for you, or...?
It was exactly that. I never trained in France. I've never worked in France as a cook.
Yeah.
Family holidays.
Yeah.
And growing up in the 60s and 70s, my mother was a kind of manic serial entertainer.
Yeah.
And she was, you know, read Elizabeth David and Robert Carrier.
Yeah.
And so these dishes were always appearing on things at home. So...
best way to learn, though, isn't it, really, stuff like this?
Exactly.
Now, you're preparing the chicken slightly differently, so...
Yeah, I'm leaving the breast on the bone, so that when it's casseroled in the oven, it doesn't shrink up completely. And also, you know, the more bones that are in there, the better the flavour.
Right.
It means a bit of work when you're actually eating it, but...
It also holds it together, isn't it, really? That's the
exactly.
another thing while it cooks, so... So I suppose if you didn't want to do all this, just get the chicken thighs, maybe?
Yeah, chicken thighs is a brilliant way of doing this. And
yeah. Right, in the mash we've got some butter and some cream in there. You want some salt and pepper in there, I take it, as well? So
yes, please.
Salt and pepper.
So with the chicken, I'm jointing... This is a free-range chicken from a farm in Herefordshire.
Right.
And it's, you know, a fair size, so I'm just making sure that the breasts are cut down into 3.
Yeah.
Joint the chicken, the thigh and the drumstick, rather.
Now, you're celebrating a little milestone this week as well. Not your birthday, but the birthday of the restaurant.
Exactly. 10 years, a couple of days ago.
Right.
Which I'm very proud of. I never expected to last that long. I always hoped to, but I'm rather proud. And
so, I mean, if you didn't know where you are, but you were actually working at, what, the 5th floor? At Harvey Nichols in London.
That's right.
And then moved just down the road, really?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, about half a mile down the road.
Yeah.
I'm just putting the chicken pieces in here to get those browned.
Yeah.
Just with a bit of vegetable oil at the moment. I talked about adding butter, but you don't want to add too much. Sorry, you don't want to add the butter at this point because it'll just burn.
Yeah. So this is going to basically get some colour in there.
Exactly.
There's a sink in the back when you wash your hands.
Wonderful.
And leave that to one side. So this is the difference between a fricassee and a sort of a blanquette. One you seal and one you don't.
Exactly. Yeah. What you want to do is it's really important to make sure that you get a nice caramelisation on the chicken meat and skin, and that way you just get another layer of flavour.
Right. Now, would this be one of the dishes that you have on your sort of lunch menu in the restaurant?
Exactly. Oh, it's brilliant, particularly with the all that lovely rain we've been having at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just a nice, really comforting dish, but it's got a bright spring-like quality to it, which makes it rather nice.
So was this dish the one that you picked up on your travels around France then, when you were younger?
No, this was when I first started cooking in a restaurant kitchen. I worked for Simon Hopkinson for 8 years. Right. And this was a dish that he used to do and took me through very carefully. And it really is done exactly how you would do it in France, taking your time.
Simon Hopkins, of course, not only a great chef, but also a fantastic writer of food as well.
Exactly. So. I think at the moment he's probably, you know, the greatest British cookery writer of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
He writes so enthusiastically.
He certainly knows his stuff as well, that's the key to it. So.
Now it's time to start cooking properly and get a bit of butter in there. Right. We've got some tomato puree.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to move that around with a whisk just a little bit. I want the butter to get a nice kind of nut brown to it.
Yeah.
And it will... we had some garlic somewhere. There we are. A little bit of garlic. And then almost immediately add the vinegar. So just a tiny splash of red wine vinegar.
This is red wine vinegar in there, yeah?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then some white wine.
Yeah.
And already
reduce that down a touch?
Reduce that down a touch.
Yeah.
And we've already got a really kind of lovely, healthy, golden colour to it.
So where would this be? Where do you reckon this would be in France, in the region of France? Where would you reckon it come from? This sort of
kind of Burgundy region.
Right.
Or possibly up in the north towards, you know, Brittany and Normandy.
Yeah.
There's a fairly good guess that anything with a large amount of butter and cream in comes from...
My house.
Or mine. There we are. Fresh chicken stock on top of that. And then we add some tarragon.
Yeah.
And that's it just for the moment, I think. A little bit of...
we haven't got anything else, so I'm pretty sure that's
tomatoes. I'm going to take
one
of those tomatoes and just get the flesh. That goes in as well.
Yeah. I'm just basically concassing these, which is the old classic French style. Blanched, ice cold water, and then just peeled. And then we remove the seeds out of here. But it's the seeds that you want, isn't it?
The seeds and the pulp are going to go into the sauce because we're going to pass those out afterwards.
Right.
And they give just a lovely kind of rosy pink finish to the dish.
Now, you've tweaked the menu over the years at Rice, and you've got this sort of a great afternoon tea menu there. Well, not really, you know, that sort of snacky sort of food as well, like croque monsieur and all that stuff.
Exactly. I mean, we had people at weekends coming in the afternoon and saying, you know, oh, this looks nice, can we have something to eat?
Yeah.
And like all traditional restaurants, at 3:30 we shut the doors and said, no, the kitchen's closed. And I thought, I'm missing something here. And had done a snack for some friends who'd come in one afternoon of some grilled sourdough bread with duck confit, little Morbier cheese and Dijon mustard, and brushed with a little duck fat on the outside and grilled. So a bit like a kind of posh croque monsieur.
When's lunch? Sounds good.
This afternoon. And they were just phenomenal. I mean, they're really Moorish and crunchy and delicious. And so I put some of those on and a few of the menu dishes. But in fact, some people just come in and go, I'd like a steak au poivre, and that's what they do.
Sounds good to me. Right, so you want that in the oven?
That goes in the oven.
Yeah. I'll lift this one out first so I can pop it in. How long would that go in for then?
That goes in for about 40 minutes. Right. It's the thigh that's going to take the longest to cook.
Yeah. There you go. And now, of course, all of today's studio recipes, include this one from Henry, on our website. You can log on to bbc.co.uk/Saturday Kitchen. And don't forget, I'll be sharing some of my highlights from the Saturday Kitchen Recipe Archives, another Best Bites programme tomorrow morning, which, like today, is at the slightly earlier time of 9:30, but over on BBC 2. There you go. Right, I've got that nice and hot for you to reduce.
Wonderful. So I'm just straining out some of the sauce.
Yeah.
There we are, that can go.
Pop it in there.
Right. Leave it like that. Then I've got cream, and I'm using whipping cream, which I never use for actually whipping because it's too light.
Yeah.
But it's very good because if you over reduce it, it doesn't go too thick and claggy.
Right.
A little bit of Dijon mustard. This is just for a little kind of aromatic finish to the dish.
I'm going to move that over there so we can see it a little bit better. Lose that to one side.
Whisk the mustard in. And when that comes to the boil, take a spoon, just check the seasoning. We'll need a little bit of salt.
Yep.
But we've got a lovely flavour of fresh tomato and tarragon because it's only been cooked for about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then...
There's your tarragon bits.
Lovely. Rather than using xanthan gum, we're going to use butter. Proper, natural, unrefined. And so that literally just gets dropped in. We add some of the tomato. Because all we're doing is kind of wilting that through. You don't want the tomato to disappear into the sauce.
So this is where you quickly reduce it down. That's why the butter actually thickens it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because all we're doing is we're driving out the water from the cream and we're using the butter to make a light emulsion.
Yeah. I don't know which pieces of chicken you want out of here, but I'll get 2 of them. There you go. I'll leave you with the mash. The mash is done.
The mash is done. I'm just going to put one tiny little splash of cream in there just to make it
extra
slightly more glossy. Look at that. even a little bit more. If I was cooking in Paris now, I'd be kind of measuring out the cream to be about a third, no, butter rather, to be about a third of the quantity of the mash. But so we just get a really lovely spoonful. Just smear that round there.
That's it. And this sauce is there ready. It's literally just reducing down nicely.
Pick out
the chicken there.
Wonderful. So we've got a nice looking. I'm going to take that joint off there. Nice chunky piece of breast, a really lovely thigh, which for me is always the best bit.
This is reduced down fully, which is nice. It's cut in the back of the spoon, which is nice.
Tiny pinch of salt.
Shame to waste
that butter, it really is.
And then just at the last minute. And this is the key to a good sauce, it's the reduction and reducing it down. That's
exactly. And remembering to taste it as you go as you go along with it, because you never know how much salt it's going to need.
Yeah.
It might need a drop more vinegar. But in fact the tomato gives a nice acidity to it as well.
Yeah.
And we want to keep this sauce light. It's not a thick, claggy, old-fashioned sauce. Think of it as a cream gravy.
Oh.
I'll put lots on, because there's always someone who's going to fight over that.
Me.
Looks good.
Generally. So I'll clean the plate. So while you tell us what that dish is again.
So there we are, poulet sauté au vinaigre, a classic French vinegar chicken.
How good does that look?
Henry's chicken is wonderfully rustic and satisfying with a really classic French feel to it, which might explain why it's such a versatile dish to partner with wine. Now the chicken, the cream and the tomatoes would go well with a red or a white. And if you're a red wine lover, then go for something supple and juicy like this lovely Côte de Rhône. But it's the punchy, gorgeous flavour of the tarragon that really defines this dish, and that works best with a herb-scented, citric white wine. Now you could go for an Italian grape variety or a southern French white, and I've got us the best of both worlds. It is the beautiful Paul Mas Vermentino. Vermentino is a great variety you most commonly find grown in Italy or southern France, and this one is from the Languedoc, and you definitely get a lovely Mediterranean warmth to it, as well as a lovely pleasant, fresh and herbal character. It's an understated, cheeky little white wine that really comes into its own with food. Now, there's a richness to Henry's dish with its cream, mustard and mash that the boldness of this wine cuts straight through. It also picks up on the tangier elements of the dish, like the tomato and the red wine vinegar, and sets off the chicken perfectly. And its herbal character picks up wonderfully well on the tarragon. Together, Henry, your classic, gorgeous dish and this great value wine make an inspired French combination. Bon appétit.